how I lose fat without going extreme. This is the exact framework that finally helped me get lean in the most gentle way that I possibly could. It's not to say that it always was easy, but this is certainly the most sustainable way that I've discovered to do just that. This is my whole slim and sustain shtick, my whole philosophy that I've been covering for months and years here, frankly, on my channel. But I wanted to make one sort of rapid fire, quite concise video where I just run through the 5 big ideas under my whole, slim and sustain, philosophy, as I say, after 10 years living this way myself and now 600 clients coached through my program. I would like to think I've learned a reasonable amount in that time. It's not to say that my exact framework will definitely 100% work for you, but if you're here, it means that you're probably a vegan, plant-based dieter or that way inclined, at least, even if not all the way there yet. And you resonate with a lot of my deal breakers, a lot of my preferences on nutrition, exercise, my way of thinking anyway. So there's a good chance of a lot of overlap is what I'm trying to say. Before we do that though, meal of the day. If you're new, this is what we do. It's one of my big bowls again here. You won't see, but we've got watercress, better watercress underneath all of this. And then we've got bulgur wheat, red bell pepper, bit of tofu, some pickled red cabbage, some sauerkraut, some red kidney beans, some sprouts here. I think they're broccoli sprouts if I remember correctly. Some cherry toms, bit of hemp seed. And when we're done here, I'm going to lather this in either hot sauce or balsamic vinegar, whatever takes my fancy. These are the bowls. This is exactly how I eat. And yeah, they are the epitome of the slim and sustain approach. And I suppose that lends itself nicely to my first big idea here, which is high fiber. And that's one reason why I like plant-based diets, one of several, but because you can still eat high fiber without being strictly plant-based, I suppose, but quite plant-forward. But plant-based allows me to easily get 50, 60 grams of fiber per day without too much thinking about it. I don't need to be conscious of fiber, quite obviously, on a whole foods-led plant-based diet. Why is this so incredible from a fat loss perspective? I argue that a high fiber diet makes it invariably easier to live life in a calorie deficit very consistently. Now, you can still eat fiber-rich foods that contain a lot of calories and/or then go and eat donuts later in the day. You might be eating lots of fiber, but then you go eat donuts and your calorie intake skyrockets, and that's going to sabotage fat loss, obviously. So it's not to say that high fiber is a guarantee. It depends what else you eat, of course. But for me, it correlates hugely with my success on the scale because lots of fiber-rich foods tend to have a low caloric density. That aside, the indirect calorie amount that many fiber-rich foods contain, that put to one side, fiber also helps me stay fuller for longer. And so, of course, I don't really need to explain why that's so important in a dedicated fat loss phase. So that is principle number 1, fiber. And that has changed everything for me. Years ago, I was eating like 10, 15 grams of fiber a day, hungry all the time, never really fully satisfied. Not to mention the health problems that can come with extended periods when your fiber intake is really, really low, obviously, but certainly strictly from a scale weight perspective, it's really difficult to just stay in a calorie deficit when you're not eating lots of these high volume fiber-rich plant foods. I find, and the comparison, well, there isn't one. This is just a game changer when you increase your fiber intake, I would say. Second idea, key slim and sustain idea here that is baked through every element, I think, of my particular approach and then the program that I've obviously subsequently built, is this slow and steady mindset. So this is the mindset piece, but just ditching the impatience, ditching the dieter's mindset, never overestimating how much weight I can lose in a month, instead thinking about how much weight I could lose in a year, because it's very easy to be instant gratification, so impatient about this, especially if this is your first or second rodeo with weight loss, and to be a bit naive and say, yeah, and we've all done this, haven't we? I want to lose 10 pounds in the next month. I want to lose 20 pounds by my vacation. It's in 8 weeks. Like for most people, that's going to be a bit of a stretch unless you're starting at 300 pounds, of course. And you quickly learn, don't you, the hard way that, well, that is actually possible. You can do something quite extreme to attain that. What happens after? Right, you go flying back up the scale, the binges come out, it's so hard to then transition to maintenance successfully in most cases. It's only been 4, 6, 8 weeks, so your relationship with food hasn't changed that much in that time anyway, to prevent you as a bit of a stopgap from kind of going too far when you start introducing, maybe less healthy foods that you're enjoying in the past. That's number one. That's assuming the weight loss, the fat loss even was successful in the first place, then you have the rebound. Well, that's assuming that you're even able to stay consistent and actually sustain it the entire time. So what I've found is that 18, 19, 20, 21, I was doing all the gung-ho stuff, and yeah, I'd lose a bit of weight here and there through absolute dedication, commitment, perseverance, but could it ever last? No. Could I actually build healthy habits that would sustain me for life, that would keep me lean and fit and healthy and active for life? No, because I was always using a method that required me to bite off more than I could possibly chew. And so, yeah, part of maturing, I think, with dieting, with weight loss, is realizing it's unfancy, it's unsexy, it's slower in the short term, but slow and steady really does win the race. So that mindset being baked into the food, the exercise, the sleep, the rest, that goes it permeates every possible actionable variable of the fat loss equation for me. So slow and steady mindset, number one. Number three is, let's talk about calories now, a small but not aggressive calorie deficit. When I was doing 600-700 calorie deficits in the past, the libido is tanking. Yes, I lose weight very quickly in the short term, but who can do that? And then the binge eating on the back end of that is astronomical. And it's not to say if you run a 200 or 300 calorie deficit, you might not have other problems, and that you might not binge anyway for other reasons, but they might not be physiological reasons so much as psychological reasons. And so what I've found is, absolutely, when I have a smaller calorie deficit, even if I'm not tracking calories, if I'm suffering with less hunger, which indicates in most cases that my calorie deficit is a little bit smaller, life is just easier. And so I plod along at a very comfortable 1.5 pounds per week, which doesn't set the world ablaze. It's not too sexy and astounding. It might not be enough to get yourself in killer shape before the vacation in 3 weeks' time, might I add, but I don't care. Because again, like I said earlier on, I'm thinking about where I'm at in 6 months' time, a year's time, not how lean can I get in the next couple of, just leave that instant gratification nonsense. And part of that mentality manifesting is this small, not extreme calorie deficit. So that is key idea number three. And when I make my clients meal plans, this is all very obvious in their meal plans that yes, I tell them what and how much to eat to guarantee that they're in a calorie deficit so they can follow their meals that are built, of course, to their preferences, but ensure they're in a calorie deficit. But the rule is the calorie deficit is not too aggressive. And I can't give you a blanket number because obviously I program each client's calorie deficit slightly differently. But what I will say I'm very confident to bank on is it's very rare that I start a client out with anything more than a 300 calorie deficit, which is far more moderate than the conventional 500 calorie deficit rule. So yeah, I really am slow and steady wins the race, but what it does allow, small deficit, what it does allow in terms of consistency, I think it's so worth it even though weight loss is slower in the short term. You quickly overtake that anyway, because you can actually stay consistent, or so is the theory. Big idea number four then on vegan, slim and sustain. Again, part of the formula I think that has, this was never a big wake-up call or reality check for me. I think I've known this inherently for a long time, but now I look back over my progress in recent years, I see this was such a constant, so I can't help but think, yeah, this is a real key pillar in my success here. It sounds so obvious, but doing exercise I actually enjoy, and I don't think I need to spend long on this to give you a massive pitch on the importance of exercise, like food, having to be quite enjoyable to you so you're not suffering through it, so therefore you're incentivized to actually keep doing it. I think that's kind of obvious. It's been said before, it's not particularly profound, so I won't spend too long on that. But yeah, I think one deeper point I would make here is, I think when it comes to fat loss, similarly, with like muscle building, people go to these diet advice, they go to these external frameworks and they want to copy and paste. Teach me. I have a lack of results, therefore a lack of knowledge. That's what they're understandably thinking. So teach me an approach that's going to work and I'll copy and paste that formula. And whilst we all need templates to get us started and beginner steps, and that's what this video is, right? I think the real skill here, the real ability, is to be able to take an external framework and personalize it to you. So to increase and promote your own adherence. Without getting too lost in fluff and jargon, what I'm saying is there are good plans out there. They're still not your plan. And all of this externalized, you tell me what to do. Yeah, I need rules on the certain diet to follow. You need your own rules. You need your own preferences on what exercise will do. What exercise you'll do. You need your own boundaries. You need your own, and of course this comes with time, you need your own understanding on what your body responds very well to and what your own consistency and compliance is going to be very dependent on. So that's a deeper point I would make here, but going back to the original, Big idea number 4, do some exercise you actually enjoy. And on Vegan, Slim and Sustain, we've got the whole slow go shtick again, a manifestation of that slow and steady mindset. We start small. It sounds patronizing, but it's important. I think we baby step it, walking only for the first month only. Once I get my clients walking, we do something else. We add something else into the repertoire, and we build fitness over time. And it's not through avoidance. We're not avoiding hard exercise intentionally. Just we're gradually building up to it in time. And again, this promotes compliance and consistency, rather than biting off too much too soon, more than you can chew, and risking burnout and injury and massive appetite spikes with exercise that I've spoken about many times before. That can be a big problem with me. If I do too much intense exercise, my appetite goes through the roof. You might be thinking, well, you're burning all those calories, Ryan. Surely that's good. This is a video about fat loss. That's a good thing, right? No, because my appetite then goes bang. And the glycogen depletion, there can be this massive compensation mentality that I personally experience. It's both physiological and psychological, I would say. That just drives me to overeating, even though I'm doing all of this exercise, even if it's on healthy food. Again, too many calories. So sometimes less is more. That's another tip though, but pillar number 4 here, do exercise you actually enjoy so it feels natural, so you don't need loads of motivation or incentivization to do it, and just start gently, I would suggest. And finally, big idea number 5 that I think ties up some of the loose ends here, because we've talked about a lot about these are my rules, these are my structures, these are the Vegan Slim and Sustain principles and ideas. A lot of them rely on you having a good environment, on your kitchen being well stocked, and planning and preparing, or a lot of them are made easier when you do a little bit of batch. I'm not a big meal prep guy, but a little bit of batch cooking, have your food ready and have your food prep. Some of your food prep, maybe your whole grains already cooked, or your potatoes, because they can take quite a while, so they're ready to go. Making sure that, no, you do really have enough avocado and hummus in as your healthy fat sources, and you're not going to be stretched at the last minute and then go and grab Taco Bell or Subway instead on the way home because you don't have those things. A lot of the other ideas that I've shared so far in this video is what I'm trying to say, and extensively more widely across my channel. They're reliant on structure, on planning, on routine, preparation. And what a key principle that is, of course, in the fat loss framework, right? Predictability, routine, not too much spontaneity, not too much impulsivity. But life is life, and what happens when it gets messy? And if your rules and boundaries are so clear and they're so stark, and if your success is so reliant on you always being in the kitchen, having a perfectly managed day where nothing goes wrong, there's no stresses in your life, you're buggered. I was going to use far more crass terms on the internet. You're absolutely screwed, right? You're absolutely buggered. You need a bit of that real world flexibility. And that's why, again, more jargon for you. But I can't think of a better way to say it. I like this idea of structured flexibility. Not chaos, not binging every now and again, not like completely unfettered cheat days where you just eat as much as you want because, hey, that helps me stay on track with my calorie deficit the rest of the time if I can channel all of my cravings to this one day. No, bit of wiggle room and flexibility. The ability to eat out once, twice a week, but you know what you're going to eat and you're going to focus on, I've got all of these rules, right? The sushi bowls, poke bowls, giant salads. I know all the places, virtually all the places in my city where I can get a calorically appropriate, might be based on some estimation, a calorically appropriate and relatively, as meals out go, by the standard of normal meals out, relatively healthy, nutritious meal. And so just being able to know that I've got these options, the grab and go options, knowing what to do if I'm particularly hungry one afternoon and my lunch has got pushed back, well, what can I grab at the store? Can I grab some of their baby carrots and dip it in some hummus, as odd as that sounds? Can I grab a bit of tofu and just eat it on the go? Worst case, it sounds odd, but worst case scenario. Maybe I just have permission. It wasn't on my plan that day, and if I do this too much, it will stop fat loss, but maybe I just grab a couple of apples when I'm out at the supermarket because my lunch has been pushed back, and if by the time I get home, I'm going to be absolutely ravenous. Who knows what I might consider doing then? Just have this apple now, even though it's not part of the meal plan. Knowing how to bend the rules without totally breaking them, without spiraling, without binging, without eating excess calories multiple days in a row. This is really important. And not to mention travel and trips and weddings and Maybe you've got events that go all day long, and what about social occasions where there's maybe alcohol involved? Just being able to know how to bend the rules with seltzer water or a 1 glass of wine rule and capping yourself there. That's what I mean by structured flexibility. There's flexibility and there's freedom, but there's still rules so you never go too far. And this is a big thing that I've been working on with my clients in particular this year. From all my learnings about traveling in Asia 5 months last year, from moving to a new country, getting relocated here, and that kind of changing the ingredients that I got, my food and my routine, and therefore my food routine a little bit. And so naturally, I've taken those insights and lessons from that experience and just built it into my teaching, built it into the whole vegan, slim, and sustain thing. And so now we've got this idea of the real world flexibility, bending the rules without breaking them. And of course, I think that just brings it all together nicely, because the other 4 big ideas, again, like I say, they're predicated on ideally you being in the right environment, controlling things, routine. What happens when that goes wrong? That's why I like big idea number 5, bit of structured flexibility to bring all of this together. And that's the approach that's changed my life. If you want to get in your best shape ever, and you're a vegan or a plant-based dieter, you want to get your best shape ever in 2026, January, start spaces on Vegan, Slim and Sustain are going, as you would imagine, in my industry. It's mental this time of year, going like hotcakes. So I think right now, as of right now, I've got 2 January spaces left. No marketing BS, 2 January spaces left. Even for February, we're only on 4, and that's really weird. To be booking slots for me, last year, 2025, this has been really, really full for me. But to be booking slots for February right now, the end of February right now, is utterly bizarre. So these will go very, very shortly. And I suspect, very much like this year just gone, 2026 is going to be the craziest year on Vegan, Slim and Sustain, so really excited for that, really excited to help my clients lose 4 to 8 pounds per month eating simple and realistic plant-based meals. Nothing too extreme, slow and steady wins the race mentality, but we get there eventually, and by the time you get there, this is the important point, you've actually changed. You've got a really robust diet plan that you know you can lean on and manage and manipulate in every possible situation that has the nice balance between structure, but also a little bit of flexibility. That's what we do. That's my whole shtick, and it's just the extension of me. I built my program, I built Vegan, Slim and Sustain on what was working for me and what didn't work for me. It's just a manifestation of that, and it turns out it's been relatively successful, I think it's fair to say, without sounding too braggadocious and arrogant. It's been relatively successful because people agree, people resonate. So yeah, that's the game plan, all right? If you want to learn more about Vegan, Slim and Sustain, getting one of those January or February coaching spots, the last few remaining, link down below. See you in the next video. Hope this helps you out.